Staying in Contact. I'm London Mitchell. Thanks for joining us for our weekly program where we delve into the greater Toledo area and Northwest Ohio. I think you'll want to stick around for today's discussion. We are going to be talking about ghosts. My guest is Chris Boris, the author of Haunted Toledo, in which he pinpoints no less than 50 locations across the city where there are spooky tales and odd occurrences. To start the discussion, I point out that I have lived in Toledo my entire life and never considered the city to be haunted. But after reading your book, Chris Boris, I have a new perspective to consider.
Oh, good. Well, that's great to hear because there's a lot of places in that book.
Tell me what triggered your interest in actually seeking out the paranormal.
Yeah, well, I grew up in a haunted house, so I had that the backing to want to figure out, okay, well, how's all this work? What what's the psychology behind this? And as I got older, I started to learn things about psychology and sociology and how things kind of manifest. And once I brought those things into the ghost field, I started to see things where other people didn't see. So I tried my hand in the ghost thing, and I hit the ground running. I started coming up with my own paradigm and my own foundational tools of how to come at the spirit world, and it just really opened a lot of doors. So I attracted a publisher who wanted to do a haunted Toledo book, and I was able to come up with 50 locations for that book, which just blew me away because this was really a community effort. I'm part of some historical society groups, and I was kind of beating all the bushes like, hey, what have you heard? Like, what is this place haunted, that place haunted? And we came up with, well, actually more than 50. I had to cut it off at some point, but I came up with 50 locations in that book, and some of them are just a lot of the places, are locations that you grow up with, like, oh, this school's haunted, and this area in the school is haunted. So there's a lot of that, but I cover a lot of the well-known places like the Oliver House and Collingwood Art Center, and it just people have continued to send me tips. So I've been writing a Haunted Toledo 2 sequel book, which is going to be due out this Christmas.
More places. I was flabbergasted that you came up with 50. I'm a skeptic. You've become,
Okay.
I believe, a believer. What were the things that opened doors for you?
One of the interesting things that happened to me was I'm originally from Sandusky, and when I moved up here with my wife, I just somehow fell into a job of getting at the Collingwood Art Center, which is the most popular place around here of being haunted. I was able to land a job being a tour guide, our ghost hunting tour guide there, and I held that position for like 5-6 years, and it was neat because I was able to really hone my skills of trying to interact with spirits and figure out what makes them tick. That was my playground, and I was able to learn all those skills there. And you said you're a skeptic, and it was interesting because I would always have skeptics come in. But what was neat was I was able to befriend the spirits there because I was there so much, interacting with them and working with them, that I had regulars coming in on a regular basis that uh, would come in because every time I had a tour, I could get something to happen. I would go into the basement. I have meters that the spirits can interact with, and I would sit down and I'd be like, "Hey, I've got a tour group here. Can you spike the meter for me? And just I want to let these people know that you're here." And lo and behold, they would start spiking them, and I could do this every single time. It took a little while, the first couple of months it was a lot of touch and go, but once I was able to, like I said, befriend them, I made a lot of believers out of skeptics.
This is not smoke and mirrors. You're being legit with me.
Yeah, absolutely. And a lot of the interactions, not just with the meters, there was one time where we had an incident where something dark moved in. I had a whole tour group with me. And when I was doing my thing, I had a whole, this dark thing just kind of rolled in. And it's the best way I can describe it, rolling darkness. And as it moved in, you could literally feel a shift in the energy in the area, and we started feeling cold spots, seeing shadow things running across the far end of the room. I saw a flash of light at one point that I couldn't figure out where it came from.
I'm London Mitchell. We are in contact with Chris Boris, author of the book Haunted Toledo. Chris, I live in a house built in the 1840s. Now, my wife and I have, on occasion, talked about whether the house might be haunted. Any thoughts on how we might find out? Yes or no?
Well, I've gotten to the point where I've been able to sense things like energies. I'm very sensitive to energies. Like I can usually walk into an area if it's severely haunted and tell you, oh yeah, there's something here. Or the opposite is true. Like if I walk into a church, I can be like, oh my gosh, this place is full of the Holy Spirit. Like this is crazy. So sometimes you can feel it. If you don't have that ability, sometimes they try to interact with you. And you say you're a skeptic yourself. So what I found is that spirits can read your aura. So if you are closed-minded, they won't even bother wasting their energy trying to interact with people like you, because it's like I said, it's a fool's errand. So this is why they come at interact with women more, because they're more emotional and open to that. So this is why you get housewives and things like that more open and susceptible to paranormal activity, because they know they will be receptive to it.
That's interesting that you say more women than men, so women would be more open-minded?
Yeah, see, and I'm trying to give you the quick answer, because this just opens the door to a lot of discussion, because I've come up with different classification types on the other side for when it comes to the spirit world. And one of the things that happens is spirits on the other side, they hang around because they are mentally hungry. Okay, this is one of the classifications I have, and it's based off the Tibetan Book of the Dead ideology of the hungry ghost. The spirits stick around because they're mentally craving something like unfinished business or something like that. So that can in turn, from a psychological standpoint, become a hindrance in their spiritual development that keeps them earthbound. So they can start spinning and spiraling out of control. Like, I just got to keep feeding that need. And what happens is they start to become a constant feeder. And when they hit that part of the evolution on the other side, I start to call them parasite spirits, because they want to feed off people, places, and things. And a lot of times, one of their main food sources is human emotions. Like when we emote a lot, they like to feed off that. It's kind of like like a fly to a bee to nectar. So this is why women usually have more problems than men, is because women emote more. So this is why spirits hang around on, because they're a better food source than men. So this just all comes together into why women usually have more problems with spirits in the spirit world.
Chris Boris, do you ever feel afraid? You interact so often with, as you put it, the paranormal.
Yeah, there's been times I've been a little nervous. I mean, I know how to handle myself, because it's all battle of light and dark, and once you get a handle on that matrix, you can survive pretty well. But there was an instance a couple weeks ago where I was in the basement of this place that's going to be in my book Haunted Toledo 2. But I was in the basement doing my thing. I was the only one in the building. The owner let me in, and he's like, "Well, do your thing." So I was the only one there, and the it was a locked space where he doesn't usually go in. So I was in the basement, and all of a sudden the lights turned off. And I'm like, what the heck? Because I was getting into interactions with the spirits down there. Lights go off, and I'm just for a split second, I'm thinking, oh gosh, if something kills me down here, nobody's gonna know where my body's at, and the door is locked. Like they're gonna discover my body years later and be like, hey, where'd this guy come from? So things like that kind of unnerved me, but thankfully the lights turned back on a few moments later, and what's interesting is I started interacting with the spirit by him turning off the lights and turning on the lights for a full 2 minutes. I was able to get it on tape, and I'll probably upload it the closer to when my book release date comes out.
If somebody considers themselves open-minded about the paranormal, would they right away recognize a paranormal contact, or are there things that you should look for?
Sometimes things will happen and you won't realize what's going on at the time. There's many times where that's happened to me. And I'll tell you, my house is a hotbed. Since I do this work, it tries to get into my house because they know I can interact with spirits and the dead and whatnot. So they want that constant interaction. So they try to get in here. And the other day, I was in the kitchen and I saw something in the doorway, just kind of, I don't know the best way to describe it, but I could see like the shoulder of somebody wearing a jacket kind of like appear in the doorway as if it was walking by. Very silent. I didn't hear any footsteps or anything, but I was looking over in that direction like, okay, I know what I just saw, but I didn't hear anything. So I walk over there, and of course, you're not going to see anything because it just fades into our reality for one split second. But yeah, stuff like that where it takes your mind a couple seconds to process of what you just saw, and that tends to happen a lot.
There are places in Toledo that you might suspect could be haunted, like the Oliver House or the Collingwood Arts Center. But Start High School, that's where I went to high school. It's so new.
Well, again, if you look at the classification types that I've laid out, there are a couple different ways spirits can get in. First of all, if the energy in an area is very enticing to them, they can be attracted in and start feeding off that energy. Case in point, like bars will be hotbeds for activity because there's alcohol there. And if you're an alcoholic during life, in the afterlife, that's where you're going to be drawn to. And there's like, when it comes to bars, I haven't been to one bar that's open well after midnight that doesn't have that type of energy in it because it just attracts it. The other way is that many people don't realize this, but spirits wander. They're not locked into these homes and positions where they lived and during life. They roam all over the afterlife. You could be a tourist to the afterlife and go sightseeing in places you've never been before. I've interacted with plenty of spirits where I'm like, hey, did you have anything to do with this place? And they'll tell me no. I'll be like, are you just wandering through? And they'll be like, yes. It's like, oh, okay, well, interesting. So it's like here today, gone tomorrow. So there's all of that in the spirit realm. And, a lot of people haven't really realized that fact.
You are a believer. You say you interact with the spirit world. I think you're pretty brave to do that. Don't you find people kind of say, "Oh boy, here comes Chris again," kind of attitude toward you?
Yeah, I do videos online, and I constantly have to censor myself because there's so many things I could put out there, but I know you have to have the proper knowledge and backing to understand what is going on. Because if I just start talking at level 20 of this venture as opposed to level 1 where a lot of people are at, they're going to be like, oh my gosh, this guy's crazy.
Chris Morris is the author of Haunted Toledo, certainly opening up some topics for discussion.
So that's why I like doing lectures and things like that, because if I have time to sit down and start laying out and mapping out the afterlife in a way, in like chunks, it's called scaffolding in the teaching world. If I can start with a foundation and start working up from that and show you how all this stuff starts linking together, you're going to be like, oh, that makes sense.
Well, Chris, you've given us a lot to think about. Thanks for joining us. I'm London Mitchell. Please accept this invitation to join us again next week as we continue staying in contact. And I invite your email. Contact me through my website, londonmitchell.news.